My guests today are filmmakers Sophia Camargo and Joseph Longo, and their short film We're Not Done Yet, and an official selection at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival. Now, Sophia is a Colombian filmmaker based in San Francisco, and her short film Al Lado del Rio in 2019 won the NALIP Jury Award and was featured at the Cartagena International Film Festival and was selected as a Vimeo staff pick. Now, her cinematography has been showcased at Berlinale, Aspen Short Fest, and the New York African Film Festival. And in 2023, she received the Vienna Shorts Jury Prize for Best Cinematography. Now, writer and director Joseph Longo has had his short film screened at festivals such as Cannes, TIFF, and Palm Springs, and he produced the feature film A Perfect Day for Caribou, starring Charlie Plummer. Now, Joseph starred in the anthology dark comedy What Doesn't Float in 2023. Currently, he's writing his debut feature, Lost at the Beach of Sunken Ships, based on the world of We're Not Done Yet. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome filmmakers Sophia Camargo and Joseph Longo and their Sundance Film Festival official selection short film, We're Not Done Yet, to the show. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Well, I have to say, I love kicking off the year with a spectacular short film, and We're Not Done Yet fits that bill perfectly. So, Joseph, I'll start with you. What inspired you to write a story like this one, and was it based on a true story?
Um, no, it's not based on a true story. This is my real mom and I acting in it together. We are wacky. We're maybe not this wacky. But the story came from Sophia and I went to film school together. And during that period of time in my 20s, I'd gone through some, yeah, just tough life stuff. And ultimately, being faced with a reality of like you can keep pointing the finger or face yourself and grow up. And so I knew that I wanted to do something with my mom. The story evolved over time, talking to Sophia, talking with my mom. Um, but yeah, it really came from a want to explore the like emotional dynamic between my mother and I, um, that I had experienced in my mid 20s. I think I've grown quite a bit since then. But it's very true to, yeah, the feelings that I had in my 20s. And so that's kind of where the story came from.
Well, for you, Sophia, what was your vision for bringing this screenplay to life?
I think the most important thing for me was understanding the nature of Joseph's relationship with his mom, and I think what we wanted to portray specifically was that coexistence of pain and humor. So I think that was the most important element in translating that script and something that we both were really interested in because we had had so many conversations about family, and that's the specificity about family that we wanted to portray. So that's, I think, what I was putting all my attention on.
Well, I know that both of you are co directors on this film. There are five characters in this film, and each one, well, they bring their A game to every role. And this was when I watched this film, I watched it so many times because sometimes when I see films like this, it's not that you're actually watching a film, you're actually watching a maybe a behavior breakdown of some sorts where you're looking at every character and you see how they're acting and that they're reacting. In this film, I saw that one of the main themes is control. And a controlling nature in many people, it's a sign of fear, it's insecurity. In most cases, it's a lack of understanding. When I was looking at the son in this film, that he had picked up a bit of that from his mother, but I also felt that he had most likely picked up a lot of that behavior from his father, which possibly the main reason why the mother is single. So, am I close on that one?
Um, actually, it's interesting. I think we had a very conscious effort of not addressing the father, that the film didn't have to do with that relationship. And but I think it's great that you have your own interpretation. I think that's what's wonderful about hopefully a film like this, that people, that you can come up with your own ideas about where that father is, because there's never a mention of him. Um, but definitely, I think there is something about picking it up from the mother, and then also watching the mother let go of that control, and the kid is still holding on, you know? Um, but I think, yeah, it wasn't, I mean, there's personal stuff in my own life and everything, but it's not, I think it's a very much so, it's a, what kind of, it's your own interpretation of where you think that father exists in this story, you know?
Yeah, and the reason I bring that up, and we'll talk about it here in a moment, but it was due to the car scene on the side of the road. There was something that I noticed, and I thought maybe this goes a little bit deeper. And I love films that allows the audience to kind of add a mental scene of their own into the story and think, well, maybe they're doing this because of this. So I love any film that causes the audiences to think, and this film does that. Your film has one of the best cast of characters because the focus is all on the acting. The little nuances of each character makes a great film for acting classes to learn from, and I feel that this is one of those films. I literally felt every emotion from every character in this film. So since both of you were co-directing, how did you achieve the balance with these five characters in this film?
I would say the balance comes from the writing, from trying to understand these characters as people and as people who have their own needs and desire and things they want to protect and things they want to show the world. And I think all of whatever they're doing, it is valid, and they're just clashing because they're different people. And I think that's what Joseph and I wanted to do when we were talking about the type of film we wanted to make. We wanted to make a film about real people. So I think that's why it feels so grounded in the acting and in the people. I do think there's a couple of beats that feel over the top, but we that's the freedom of cinema, where you can take things a little farther just for the sake of expressing an idea. And we like that, but I think the main reason is I think our interest in real life and real people, and specifically those nuanced interactions we have as human beings.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I would
and
also,
oh no, go ahead, Joseph.
I would just add to that. I think that, you know, everybody who worked, like a lot of the cast, almost all of the cast were people that we had known prior, who were friends. Sophia and I have a crazy trust with each other. I've been rehearsing with my mom for 30 years in a way, so like the trust that Sophia and I have with each other, I think, coupled with a comfortability already with the cast before even coming to work, um, I mean, hopefully translates onto the screen where, yeah, as what Sophia said, every single character has the right to express, their need, their want, or their concern, Um, so yeah.
Well, even the renters next door, they are very interesting characters. Even the exchange in the first part of the film will make any audience uncomfortable. From the
Good.
point of some will feel uncomfortable, others will feel embarrassed for the characters. And what I love about this exchange is that, and this is what I've noticed. Like I said, I watched your film numerous times, and I would go back to the exchange in the early part of this film. And the thing that I noticed is that for myself, I wasn't choosing sides, because each side has their own perspective of what happened, which I love that you show that. But the audience needs to pay attention to the dialogue, because the dialogue and then the body language speaks volumes in that scene. Because I noticed something about the young mother that was holding the baby. She kept pulling away from your mother, which shows me as a sign of protection. And because they were renters, maybe they were renting for the weekend, maybe it was an Airbnb, maybe they were renting for the summer, and they aren't exactly open to meeting new people. And that's the thing I was getting from the young mother. The young father, I just thought he was just plain rude. Yeah. And so I'm just like, dude, just, don't make the situation worse. But I understand, because there too, he was showing a sign of protection for his wife and child. And when she accused the older mother of pushing her, and I went, I didn't see a push. So I kept playing that scene. I'm like, no, it was a pulling away. And then that taught me everybody's perspective of a situation is different. Everybody sees truth differently, or they see their own truth differently. And that's what that scene showed me. So that's the reason I loved the dynamic of all of the characters and how that scene was. So I have to ask, how many times did you shoot that scene? Because it was perfection to me.
Well, that's very sweet. Um, that was an interesting day because we had a real baby on set. Um, and Sophia, have you worked with a baby before?
Once, yes, but
As
not in such a dynamic scene where you have to like block it and shoot it from different angles. We actually had a real baby and a fake baby. I think it was a really complicated setup and scene, and probably one of the most complicated Joseph and I have ever done in our careers. Um,
Also, just
we
to
shot
add, it was all on tripod. So I think without the ability to move the camera within it, I think just that was like a riddle for us to figure out with our cinematographer Melanie, because they're switching, positions, and somebody comes out of a door. It's like that was, and then there's a baby, and how to hide the fake baby and the real baby. And so, like, I think, and we had very much so, all three of us had from the beginning said we want to shoot the whole movie on sticks, on tripod, no moving camera. And I don't even know if maybe that's something that people don't recognize, but the whole film is except maybe there's one shot, which is from the back of my head walking, which we shot in a car. But otherwise, everything is on a tripod. I think that made it like super challenging.
Yeah, but it comes down to the master of editing. Because when I watch the film, I usually pick up, okay, they're using a handheld, or somebody's using a gimbal, or, the cameras are stationary, they're sitting on a set of sticks. You can tell. But in this film, it's the masterful editing, because you having an exchange of shots. A couple of seconds, it's on the young mother, then it's on the older mother, then it's on the young husband, then it's on the son. So all of the exchanges going back and forth with the camera shots makes people focus on the characters. They're not focusing on who's holding the camera. And that's what I loved about this film, because if you never said that and I went back and watched this film again to really look at, okay, is it handheld or what? Because I understand that one shot you just mentioned. Yeah, I understand that shot was handheld. But the other ones, the audience is like laser focused in on the characters. So for me, if you want to put a camera on a set of sticks, do it. But this came across spectacular, brilliant, masterful when it came down to the editing process.
That's also thanks to our great editor.
Yeah, we had done. We worked with this woman named Sarah Shaw, um, who is fantastic. I had done. I was actually in right after shooting the film. I was in Germany for a couple months, and I cut like the first cut of the film, which I don't think was terrible. But then Sophia and I were like, I think we should probably bring in somebody who's very experienced to help, finish and really sharpen those pieces. And she was a pleasure to work with. She was amazing.
Well, I also noticed that the mother and the son had a tendency to get the last word, even in the form of a snide remark at the end, which just kept the drama going. And the young renters, they were guilty of that too. So there were similarities between both parties, but then focusing on the mother and son, there were definitely some issues because I started to wonder because in the very opening scene when she's standing on the beach and she's enjoying the wind in her face and the sun and hearing the waves crash on the beach, he comes walking up behind her and then I noticed his demeanor. It's almost like he didn't really want to be there. And when I saw that, I kept thinking, there's a lot of parents and children dynamics that around the world, not everybody, but a lot of people do that. They're like, okay, I want to go visit my mom or my dad, at their place in the woods or on the beach or wherever. But then part of them is like, I don't really want to be here because all they're going to do is ask me questions and pick apart my life and where I'm at this stage. And that's what the mother did.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
parents.
that's true. I
Yeah.
think, yeah. First of all, thank you for your very careful attention. It's awesome to hear you talk about the film in such a detailed way. And um, I think, in a way, this everything you're saying makes me think of the title. I think this is about a relationship that keeps going and that it's still open and something that is not we're not done yet. And I think that idea and that feeling is there in all of the characters, and it's the energy the film carries. So I think that's what you're experiencing, and I think you're right. He doesn't want to be there, and at the same time he does, but that's the tricky.
Well, it's funny because after I watched the film the first time, I was sitting there thinking about the title. We're not done yet. And I thought, wait a minute. Let's put this in two perspectives because, there are two ways to look at the beginning and also look at the end. In the beginning, you could say, look, we're not done yet, meaning, we're going to argue some more, At the end, you could go, we're not done yet. There's more to life than this. So it starts off in a way harsh, but it doesn't end that way because the son starts to really see, I know when I was a kid, I lost
Sorry.
count how many times, mom or dad would go, if you don't straighten up, I'm going to pull the car off the side of the road and you're walking home. So when I saw that scene, I was like, oh yeah, how many kids deserve to be let off the side of the road and you can walk home and think about what you've done? Or in this case, it was like, go to your room and think about what you've done. And when you figure it out, you can come out. And that's the reason I just love that scene.
Yeah, I think there's an element of also just like you can either be here and have a good time, or I don't want to deal with you. I mean, it's the whole thing that she says, I've tried taking you to a nice place, but all you've done is be a pain in the ass, you know? Um, and yeah, in like, it's incredibly true that he doesn't want to be there, but he also has an incapability of letting go of his mom. So it's this double-edged, dilemma that he's dealing with. Also, in just in regards to Sophia talking about the title, something that we had talked about a lot, I think, also is this idea that at the end of the movie, you kind of let them go, and there's not really a resolved ending. It's just a slice of life of this family, and who knows, in 6 months, they probably will have another argument, or, like, it's just, this is, yeah, it's what Sophia said, like, real people, real relationships, they don't get resolved like that, you know? Um,
And that's what I loved about the
I'm not
ending.
done yet.
Yeah, Joseph, because that's what I loved about the ending. It wasn't a it wasn't an open and shut case. You knew it was almost like I was sitting there thinking, okay, I want to see a sequel. And because you knew the spirit of understanding started to show up at the end. And it really was led by the mother because she waved him over. And meaning that was a sign of forgiveness. Let's move on. And he started to understand that as well. So I loved the ending, but there's another element of the ending, but I'm going to save it for a bit here. But I want to talk about that car scene on the side of the road because there was as much to unpack in the car scene as there was in the first opening scene with the young renters. Because when the mother and the son got into an argument in the car, she stops the car, and it showed me a couple of things. You know, he brought up the fact that he noticed that she was looking at adoption, and he was still struggling with some internal situations with himself, and that's almost like his mother saying, "I'm going to move on, and I'm going to love somebody else. Either I'm going to love another child, or this gentleman that I've met." So he starts feeling a little bit on the outside. She's trying to fill an empty space in her life because she's just recently single, and of course her son is older, not living with her. The husband's gone, but the son still wants his mother's love, but he's still struggling with his own identity. I mean, what was it like filming that scene?
I think that was a really hard scene to shoot. We were all day under the sun, in the middle of a road, trying to figure out. And you see the scene, and it lasts, I don't know, 1 minute, but it took us 12 hours to shoot it. So we're trying to create this sense of continuity and drama and naturalism by repeating something hundreds of times. So it was definitely a challenge, but again, I think the reason why it works is because each of the actors, Joseph one being one of them, knew what they were protecting and knew why they were behaving the way they were. And yeah, I think it was a challenging scene. It was a fun scene. It was probably the most intense emotionally because it was very confrontational. So it was hard for them as actors. And it was also the most emotional moment for both Joseph and his mom to look at each other's eyes and say some real stuff about letting go and growing up, which is, I think, the core of the movie. So yeah, I think that scene was tricky but beautiful, and because it was challenging, it also made my relationship with Joseph and our working relationship stronger.
Well, Joseph, let me ask you, because in that scene, Uh, mentally, emotionally, where did you take yourself to pull that scene off with your mother?
Yeah, well, I think definitely a challenge for me within that. I'm not a trained actor, so um, a lot of like stuff is coming from. I mean, real trained actors, they bring their own real stuff into it, but like I'm kind of going on like, I do my work and everything, or what I think is the work, but at a certain point, like I'm yelling and we haven't even gone to lunch yet. And now I got to come back from lunch and do the same thing, and I was so exhausted, which I think, like, for one, maybe made me a pain in the butt to work with a little bit, but also, yeah, it's really, as Sophia said, it's like a 1 minute moment that's shot over 12 hours. And how do you maintain over that amount of time where you were specifically when you had energy in the morning versus when you were at the afternoon, where you were? And we had, Sophie and I have joked about this after the shoot. I think we did 19 setups that day, which is absolutely
Too
absurd
much.
For a short film, that's insane.
for a 1 minute sequence too, and we're very like, I mean, Mike Lee is like my hero. He's a director that I love, British director. And it was funny, like we had said after, like if Mike Lee shot that, it would have been like three shots or something, four shots, and we decided to do 19 setups, which ultimately, like, I think it was great because we had options and it becomes very dynamic and it's very rarely repeating angles or sizes. But yeah, I think that maybe like the other two actors in it, my mom and Danny, they are been at this for 40 years. They're trained actors. Um, and so I kind of was going on like, I don't know, energy and like luck. I don't know.
What's it like yelling at your mother in a scene? I mean, after the scene's over, do y'all just bust out laughing?
Oh, cathartic, really cathartic. No, I'm joking. She's like the best. She really is like the best scene partner, and actually so remarkably giving, especially when she's not on camera. And um, yeah, like that. I honestly, like, it's. I have nothing but good things to say about working with her. She's incredibly um, sticks to her guns, which I think is good and can be intimidating, even just for me, for anybody. Um, and she also is, she's very much so like the most accomplished and experienced person on the set. So, but also at the same time having to maintain, like, look, we're all on the same playing field here, trying to work for the film, And she's incredible, and she's has no, I mean, truly, she has no ego about that, like, whatsoever. I mean, it's amazing how well she got along. Like, Sophia and her got along so well. Our cinematographer and her got along so, like, I don't know. I think I joke when I say it's cathartic. I mean, I'm semi joking when I say it's cathartic to yell at her, but it's not that difficult because it feels very much so just like doing the work, and serving the
It
film.
it was the interaction between you and your mother was absolutely fantastic to watch. And Sophia, for you, what was it like directing those scenes, watching both of them go at it?
I mean, I wanted to add, although we were doing very serious work, filmmaking is also about playing, and I think Joseph and Barbara are great at that. And even though they were screaming and being extremely emotional, and I think they were taking those emotions very seriously, each time they were screaming, we were also all laughing because it was very powerful, and we were enjoying the experience of creating something together. So it was fun. It was fun, and I we have a couple behind the scenes where they're trying to bicker and they end up like laughing like crazy because it's funny how it's reminding them of their relationship. And I think that's beautiful. I think it was amazing for me to work with them. It was an honor, a pleasure. Barbara's a dear friend of mine. After this movie, it was amazing to work with her and to learn from her, and it was great working with them. They made it easy for me because the chemistry was already there, so I
Yeah,
was
I
prepared
could see that. I could see that. Because I got up early this morning to rewatch the film again because there was something I'm like, okay, is there something I'm missing? Because I had already wrote down all of these detailed notes breaking this film down. But then it was the car scene when everybody is standing outside their vehicles. And Joseph, it's what I noticed. And then when I noticed it, I had to go back to the beginning scene at the house. When you told the gentleman not to take another step, it goes back to the early scene of the young mother basically saying the same thing, not in words, but with her body language to your mother. And I loved the contrast there. Was that planned or did it just happen?
Um, Good question. I actually can't remember. I don't think that specifically was planned, but I think the thing of don't take another step very much so is I think actually in a way more so tied to him trying to break down these boundaries with the husband next door and being the man of the house. And I think he's trying to exercise that control and power and being, on in many but kind of weird ways her son, but also partner. Like her main interest. Um, this is my mom. What'd you say? This is my mom. Get back in your car. Um, so there is something also like a bit possessive that character has over his mom, which ultimately, results in her saying, "Let me go," in a way, But in terms of like the specificness of Lauren's character, the woman next door stepping back, in mine, I don't think that was directly connected, but lovely things like that happen just subconsciously, I guess. I don't know.
Well, when your mother says in the scene, which I thought was a very powerful line, and people need to take a notice of what she says. On the side of the road, there's this argumentative exchange going on, and she says, "Why don't you talk to me?" And then the look on your face, and I went, a lack of communication breeds fear, insecurity, the wrong perspective, and then leads to internal turmoil. Because she just wanted him to talk. She invites him over for the weekend or whatever, and he's not really communicating. He's hanging out, but he's not really interacting with his mother. And then it's like even at the beach, the beginning beach scene when she's, just really as she's just being a mother. Like, are you seeing anybody? If you had your driver's license, you could, take someone out to the country or whatever. And she's just being a mother, but he takes a little bit of offense to it. And I'm like, boy, how many teenagers do that on a daily basis?
Right. And my character is in their mid 20s acting like a teenager. So
Yeah,
imagine what that mother's feeling at the same time.
it is. Now, there's only one element of this whole film that left me very, very curious. And it was based on this one of the subtitles. And I want to ask, what does this mean, or why it was even mentioned? The woman holding the baby. So the camera shot is on you. You're like laying on the couch or whatever. And then you hear the dialogue in the background coming from outside. And I hear the line goes, "By the way, I'm a female." Why was that even in there? It's
That's
the
not in there.
It's not. Well, well then the subtitle needs should be removed. Okay, let's just wipe that away.
Is that a Vimeo? Is it
I
from
think it's
Vimeo that you
that.
watched
I've
it?
seen it too. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
She
and
says
Interesting.
I'm Bettina. She says her name, but Vimeo. I've
That
seen this
would
happening before. Vimeo sometimes changes what people are actually saying.
that makes sense because the only reason I brought it up is because when the mother goes, "Well, isn't Cleo a girl's name?" And so then when I saw the subtitle, I went, I was like, why? And so, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. This online automatic subtitle thing. Yeah, I know they never get it right. So we'll just wipe that away. But
I would be confused too, so that's a great question because I would be very confused as well.
well, hopefully in your next interviews they don't ask you that question. But let's talk about that ending shot because I loved it. It told me that our lives are, especially the shot of the mother. You have this vast ocean that she's looking at. She invites you over, but it to me the whole shot told me that our lives are far too big to allow the small things to ruin the beauty of life. And his mother was very forgiving, um, basically trying to wipe away where you don't see or you don't hear the little snide remarks. Everything starts to have a little bit of more peace, a bit of course, the joy showed up because they both jumped into the water. So I looked at it as we just need to love, live, and laugh and cherish the time we have with each other and put drama aside.
Sophia?
I think that's it. I'm glad you it felt like that to you. I think we wanted it to feel, yeah, like open and we wanted it to have that feeling of like life continues, and in a way we stayed back with the camera because at that moment we wanted the characters to have some privacy, a moment of their own, something we can't fully access, and that points to that life that continues. And I agree, it's a great ending, and I loved being there when they were jumping in the freezing water. It was very fun.
It's
Yeah,
very cool.
I love that scene. I've played it over and over again. And you kept each character in their own frame for the moment because you saw the mother. You could read what she was thinking and feeling. You looked at the son, and he finally gets it. But I think he really got it on the walk home, and he put his best foot forward at the house when he saw the young couple next door sitting outside. The husband was still being a jerk, but he decided to put his best foot forward and be kind, and you can't fault anyone for being kind. So I thought that was a growing up moment in this film.
Nice.
Yeah, the beginning of it, the attempt at the beginning of it.
Very much so. Please tell me about the cinematography because I noticed this right off the bat when I watched this film. Did you film this on Kodak film?
Yeah, we shot it on 16 millimeter, which was super fun. Um, and we kind of had that in mind from the beginning. Melanie, our cinematographer, is very experienced shooting on film. Sophia has shot on film. I believe the thing that Sophia won Vienna cinematographer was shot on film. Um, so we had a team that was very experienced. We also did a test shoot before where we tried pushing and pulling stops to see if we could get the look that we wanted. I think we ultimately pushed a stop or two. I actually can't remember exactly.
Yeah, because I noticed the graining, and when I looked at it, I said this shot on film, and 16 millimeter does have a completely different look than 35, and I just love real film because it adds more realism to the story, especially when your story is heavily character driven like this one is. so, so by filming on 16 millimeter, man, stellar. But I've got to ask because one of the biggest things I was watching was the coloring. What type of color palette did you choose?
In terms of production design or
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
actual
because after you
production?
filmed it, and then you're going to go in for any type of colorization, it was one of the first things I noticed because not counting the scene with the mother and the and her date, not that scene, but all the rest of it had a slight cool tone to it, except for maybe the outdoor car argument shots because you're technically filming in broad, bright daylight with hardly any cloud cover. But the interior shots, the scenes on the patio at the renters, even towards the end, it was a slightly cooler color palette, which I thought really played well with the whole emotion of the film.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Sophia and I had we had a document going into the shoot of that had to do with lighting and cinematography, and then um, also in addition, like there were things written into the script, specifically this like pastel pink that we wanted to have around the house, the flowers, her dress. But then, yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about working with Patrick, Sophia.
I think in a way what we did with color was we wanted to stay true to the landscape of Long Island and Peconic and to the temperature of the season and to the fact that they're getting in the water when it's cold. It's not summer. We never wanted it to feel like that, and it's very like New York in a way. So I think the color is inspired by the true landscape where the film was shot, and we also were I think putting our attention in creating some contrast between the colors he's wearing and her environment. So I think that's also something that created some interesting contrast. But I think our color person, who's Patrick Devin, we've worked with him several times. He was, yeah, just very delicate and kept it very natural. And I think that's why film is incredible because it's really beautiful how it portrays light. And if you're by the ocean, the light is very specific, and film did help us portray that quality of light.
Yeah, yeah, because it all worked together. I was even looking at the wardrobe choices, you know, because everything in a film matters, and I love the attention to detail. And again, to film on 16 millimeter, I just love filmmakers who go that route. It's a very daring route. I know filmmakers who have never done it before and they do it once and now you can't get them off of it because it's a whole new experience and everybody loves it. And it is a far more difficult than doing a digital shoot. But I just love real film. Now, you're kicking off the year being an official selection at the Sundance Film Festival. How does that feel?
You go.
Um, I mean, obviously, it's totally bizarre and awesome, and um, I'm very like just proud of our team. I'm really proud of not only friendship but the relationship and working relationship that Sophia and I have formulated. Also with our producers, our cinematographer, um, and we also had our world premiere at the Hamptons International Film Festival. So it's kind of this has been just like this very crazy cherry on top for us, I think. And it's just nice that like we felt good about the whole thing before Sundance happened, and now we get to go and celebrate there, and hopefully people like the film.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for a lot of you who may not know how amazing it is and an accomplishment is to be an official selection at the Sundance Film Festival, just this year alone, over 11,000 submissions were placed just for the short film category, and only 57 were chosen. So it's not easy to get in. And for both of you, hopefully it's going to be a good sign, because I know that the winner of the grand jury prize at Sundance in the short film category for 2024 was Oscar shortlisted. And of course, the nominations have been pushed back to the 23rd. So, you kick off the year pretty well. So it may become a very wild ride till the end of the year for both of you.
I don't even think about that. I think just getting into Sundance is the grand jury prize. I don't know.
Well, so you debuted at Hampton. What was the crowd's reaction to the film?
I think the crowd really liked the film. We premiered at the Hamptons, which is the place where we shot it, or very close to the place where we shot it. So I think the community there felt like the story was really close to them, and something, a reality they knew. And we had a lot of people approach us and say, especially one specific mother who came to us and said, "What do I do about my son?" And we were both a little scared, but also it felt beautiful to have normal people come to us and talk about the film and have emotions about it, because we were used to getting a lot of feedback from film people, and it feels really good to put the film out into the world and hear from people who are just watching it and enjoying it. So yeah, at the Hamptons we had a great experience. It was fun to show it there. It felt like showing it really close to where it was made, and the reception was great. People seemed to like it.
Yeah, I think in the months to come this year with this film, especially with Q&A, you're going to get a lot of personal stories, and you're going to get a lot of questions just based on the storyline of this film. And it is a stellar film. And ladies and gentlemen, We're Not Done Yet is one of the very few, as I said before, it is one of the very few short films that have been selected as an official selection at the Sundance Film Festival this year. And the film is about Alex, who visits his newly single mother for a weekend at her beach house. But when he is confronted with her new independence, Alex is forced to face his own controlling nature. This film is a lesson in behavior, and it causes ourselves to take a look inside. We need to realize that being controlling can be a sign of fear, insecurity, and a lack of understanding. Now, I love films shot on real film, and 16 millimeter, what can you say? It gives an authentic look and the realism to the story and the true essence of life and of cinema. Now, with We're Not Done Yet, this is another film that I will remember for a long time because it is character driven. You feel every emotion of each character. It gets tense, and some of us may feel a bit embarrassed for some of them because it causes us, again, to take a look at ourselves. I think this short film is going to go a long way in 2025, so I'm keeping my eye out on this one. And I want to thank you, Sophia and Joseph, for sharing this amazing film with me today, and good luck at Sundance.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank all of you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. And again, We're Not Done Yet, a short film that you better keep your eye on for the rest of this year. And if you are going to be attending at any of the film festivals this year, that they will be appearing, and I'm sure that they will be appearing at dozens upon dozens, if not hundreds of film festivals this year. Once you're in Sundance, everybody else wants to pull you in to their festivals. So if you attend one, make sure you're sitting in the audience when this film shows up, because you're going to see what I saw, an absolute spectacular stellar, and brilliant lesson in storytelling and filmmaking. So thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. You'll either see me at the movies or from the red carpet.